family, friends, strangers, muses, I sing for you. I sing of hope, light, family, love, and fire. Long ago, in a time before time, there were titans, and those titans had children. And the king of titans, Kronos, he was a bad man. He had killed his own bad father, and he had married his sister, as titans do. We can't, you know, it's their titans. And they had a child. Kronos and Rhea had a beautiful child named Hestia, their first child. And Kronos looked upon this beautiful girl, this amazing child, the first of the Olympians, and was threatened and scared by the peace that her face promised. And so, in his fear and desperation, he swallowed her. But, being an Olympian, Hestia did not die. She simply fell into a dark chasm and pit and void, and she waited there. And then, after some time, a brother fell down, and then another sister, and then another brother, and then another sister, and then one day fell a rock. You see, Rhea, their mother, had grown smart, and she was tired of watching her children being eaten, and so she took a young strapping boy named Zeus, swapped him out for a rock, and threw it down. Now, Rhea could never have anticipated that when the rock landed, the 5 children who were already there would fight over it the way children do. They each wanted to play with this new toy. What is this thing that is not a sibling, not a child, but a rock? They fought over it, and Hestia watched the squabble and laughed. But she had an idea. The oldest sister was tired of watching her family suffer in silence and darkness, and she wanted out. And so one night when her siblings were sleeping, she took that rock and she went to a far corner of Kronos' stomach and began to sharpen it meticulously against that corner. Sharpen it as sharp as she could, for she dreamed that if she had a sharp rock, perhaps she could drive it through one of Kronos' joints and find light and get out. And so she did this every night when her siblings were sleeping. And finally her rock was coming to a point, a beautiful point that represented hope. And just as it was getting sharp enough, she swiped her rock on the corner and it broke in half. And Hestia was devastated. She didn't know what to do. Her rock, her beautiful rock, was useless. And in her desperation, she cracked the stones above her head. And the very first sparks that have ever been seen in the world appeared, and Hestia laughed. She laughed and she smiled, and her siblings gathered around, and they also looked at the sparks and laughed. And at the same time, those sparks were making smoke that crept up the chasm. And Kronos, the god of time, the Titan king, did something very un-Titan-like. He burped. And in that very second, that strapping young lad, Zeus, who had grown into a beautiful Olympian god, saw the blindness that was caused by the burp and threw a thunderbolt and cut off Kronos' head. And Hestia saw the light above her sparks and watched her siblings leave one at a time and then followed them out into the light. Zeus laughed at this youngest sister, the last to leave Kronos' body, the first to enter the world around, and decided that she got last pick of the domains that the gods would begin to split up to govern this new Kronos-less world. This suited Hestia fine. She didn't think anyone wanted what she wanted. She held her rocks in her hand and knew that she wanted to make sparks forever. She wanted to make her family happy with light and warmth and hope. Now years passed, and there was another Titan named Prometheus. Some of you may have heard of him before. Prometheus was the god of forethought. He was the only Titan to side with the gods in their fight against Kronos, for he knew what the outcome would be. And Prometheus was an artist. He was a dreamer. And one day he was playing in the clay, and he created a new thing that had not yet existed, something beyond the conception of Olympians. But he saw the future, and the future was humans. The future was people. And so he created thousands of them and spread them all over the cold, dark world, and they were miserable and sad and lonely and depressed. Prometheus in turn was depressed, right? He saw his creation, his beautiful creation, what he saw as the future of existence, and it wasn't working. And so he thought for a long time, and he thought, what do the gods have that my humans don't? They have love, light, and joy, and family. The gods do. My children don't yet. And the secret, I think, is that thing that Hestia always has, fire. And then lights went off, and he knew that that was the correct path. And so he came to where Hestia was sitting in front of the fire. And success certain in his mind, he reached forward, thinking he could maybe catch her unawares, to grab some sacred flame. But Hestia was the goddess of the hearth. These were her stones. She wasn't going to let some guy take them. She grabbed his hand and said, what are you doing? What are you doing with my fire? And he said, Hestia, have you seen those things I've made? Those humans? And she was like, sure, yeah, I mean, yeah, they're everywhere. It's fine. And he said, they're sad. They are a sad family. And they need our help. And Hestia saw a vision of the future. One in which these creations had fire. One that expanded far past Prometheus's vision, because she saw art, civilization, and love springing from that flame. And she said, take my flame. Take my flame and bring it to your sad creations. Take it and spread it, and maybe they too will find hope, light, love, and family. And she became the most important goddess. She was offered the first and last sacrifice before every meal. Every temple in Greece, every fire in Greece was a temple to Hestia. And some of the stories I've told you, you won't find in any books, I am afraid to say, because they have been forgotten. But let's not forget Hestia, who is standing right here with us now, keeping this fire warm and reminding us how much we love each other and how grateful we are for art, love, light, and fire. Thank you, Hestia. Woo! Woo! Woo!